Okay? Kindliness created me kind. Helpfulness created me helpful. Joy created me joyful. My acknowledgement of pain has made me suffer pain in my own mind. I reject the idea, okay, that I am under the laws of man where I must participate in this bodily form. I'm going to experience this blaze of light. There it is a little bit, do you see? Isn't that a great lesson? There's two other light lessons, guys, that are in lessons where it says that we can experience this light through this. So that was lesson 66. My happiness and my function are the same. Okay? Wow, what a great lesson. Love created me like itself is the next lesson. You're going to succeed in going through that blazing light because we already just did that lesson. You're faced with a lesson, love holds no grievances. Okay? And I'm going to give you an explanation of a grievance so you won't get embroiled, okay, in what you should grieve about and not grieve about. You are a grievance. Everything that you do is a form of resentment concerning the place in which you find yourself. That's a simple statement of the fact of the matter. And your refusal to accept that you're doing it to yourself will prevent you from ever finding the solution. Do you see? It may begin with a very fundamental idea that it's not what's happening out there to you that's causing your pain. It's how you measure it in terms of what you think you are. Do you see that? There's nothing outside yourself that can cause you pain or loneliness or happiness because there's nothing outside yourself. See? Is this true? Yes. Outside of yourself, there is nothing. So since nothing is outside of yourself, the solution is afforded you within this association of your own mind. This says, okay, you who were created by love like itself can hold no grievance and know who you are. To hold a grievance is to forget who you are. To hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. To hold a grievance is to let the ego rule your mind and to condemn yourself to a body. All right? The idea of guilt, finding somebody guilty for what's happening to you, is what a grievance is, and you can never escape it. If anything out there, okay, can cause you pain or loneliness or death, you will be guilty of that association within your own mind. And you'll never be able to escape it, will you? Huh? How can you? You're caught. You're trapped in your own guilt of mind. Okay? Listen, if you do that, okay, listen, it makes you believe that he is like what you think you have become, for no one can conceive of his creator as unlike himself. This is what I just did for you a moment ago. You will believe that God is doing to you exactly what you think you did to your brother, and you cannot escape it within that association. This world defines its creator, which it believes is of this world, is one who judges it in relationship with pain and loneliness and death. If you can't get past the illogic of that, you're never going to hear this message. Yes. Okay? Do you hear me? Yes. God does not make evil things. Okay? Do you get that? Okay, do you understand me? 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds? God does not make evil things. You can take that onto yourself now to be good and to go out and serve with the knowledge that you can find God in that association with yourself, not by justifying what you think God would have to do with this. And that will be where your relief will be. All right? It is assured that those who hold grievances will redefine God in their own image, as it is certain that God created them like himself and defined them as a part of him. Can you hear that? Anything that you measure within your own association is going to justify the God that you use in order to justify yourself. Okay? God justifies you in the entirety of who He is because He is everything. Okay? You will extend from the totality of His creative purpose what you are in that regard. And that will give you the peace of God. Isn't it? Isn't that nice? All right. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will forget who they are as it is certain that those who forgive will remember, and that's one heck of an occurrence. Okay? Finally, those of you who know how I obtained this, understand that I got so tired of the grievances seeking relief from the injustices of this world and not being able to find them that I said I give up. Okay? I looked within myself and I saw nothing out there except pain and death, and I saw nothing in there except the grievance for my search for justice, which is really all I ever want, or a purpose for being here. Okay? There is no manner in which I can see the light if I hold a grievance, because a grievance must give me a reflection of the guilt that I feel about myself and deny me access to the light.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
That's literally true.
Yes. Yeah.
That a grievance is a form of darkness or the holding on to the necessity to defend yourself. What an amazing idea. How you doing out there? Huh? Are you up to lesson 68? I think you are. Okay. Love holds no grievances. When I let all my grievances go, I will know that I am perfectly safe. Can you hear that? When I let my grievances go, I will know that I am perfectly safe. All grievances are forms of defense. Okay? Can you see that? A sickness and the remedy are the same. If I defend myself, I will have a grievance of being attacked. Okay? What an amazing idea. And I'll fight the battle. And I'll win a little bit, and I'll lose a little bit, and then I'll get old and die. So my associations are to come here, try to find the solution, suffer pain, loneliness, and death in this body, and then die. Those of you who are beginning to feel the frustration of your existent association will understand very well what I'm saying now, because I am offering you the entirety of an alternative that will have nothing to do with your justification of the idea that a universal creative eternity would have anything to do with this world. And this is the only thing that I'll keep coming back to, that I'm offering you. That's a good lesson, isn't it? Okay. Love holds no grievances. I would wake to myself by laying all of my grievances aside and awakening in Him. The practice of releasing the burden of grievance, okay, will make you very happy. Though the world will attest you must hold them in order to justify your associations of special relationship. I'm sorry about that. You hear me? Remember that in your weakness is your strength, without interpreting that as the meek will inherit the earth, except in the certainty that in your meekness is the kingdom of God. All right, that's the way that works. Okay, we moved real fast. We're at lesson 69, which is the key lesson that we actually interpreted. My grievances hide the light of the world that is in me. You ready? I'll just show you that this is all within yourself. This will just take a minute. It's not out there. We've decided we're going to fight this battle of self-identity with real self within our minds. Shall we see if we can do it? Listen to this sentence. No one can look upon what your grievances conceal, because your grievances are hiding the light of the world in you. Everyone stands in darkness, and you beside them, in a very literal sense. Since the world is a construction of your mind and being played out on a stage within the formulation of you, if you have a dark, chaotic formulation, there is no way you can see the entirety of the light of the world. That's a true statement. Let's see if we can enhance that a little bit for you. But as the veil of your grievances is lifted, you are released with him from the necessity to defend yourself. As I look on you now, there was a veil between us of our certainty of a singular created reality. We reflected back to each other the grievances that I had imposed on you as a defense of myself, and you have imposed on me as a defense of yourself. While we may let our barriers down a little bit in order to decide who's going to attack whom in the objective vernacular, we never would release them, since existent reality depends on being mistreated. Your reality depends on a capacity to be harmed or to be hurt. What an amazing idea that is. Okay. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. He is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both. It's impossible, so I try it with you, that you have a contingency within the formulation of the self you think of yourself in an association with objective reality that does not each instant contain the wholeness of what you are. While you define your wholeness as temporal, it is actually whole at the moment that you define it and contains no grievance whatsoever. Because the justification for the grievance is also the relief of it. I don't know how I can teach you this, but that's a true statement. You find the relief of the justification for the grievance, and for a moment love the relief that you experience, because it has empowered you with your own mind and to who you think you are. I don't know if you can hear this. That's actually what this said. The problem with it is not that. The problem is that if you base it on a defense of yourself from God, it will change almost immediately. You'll then defend yourself and find happiness in another form of defense. Okay, you have a city that builds a wall around itself and finds security in the building of the wall. Their happiness now depends, doesn't it? Yeah. In your mind, your happiness depends on the protection that is afforded you by the rejection of the guy that's out there. What a strange place to be. Huh? Yeah. That's what this actually says. Okay? We're going to try this now. Today, let us make another real attempt to reach the light that is in you. What did I just say to you out there? Huh? I said to you, we together are going to make a real attempt to reach the light that is in you. In just a moment, I'm going to share in your attempt and attempt to give you a new light association within your own mind. Will it work? Sure. And that's the basis of A Course in Miracles, isn't it? That if I can offer you the light of the sharing of the certainty of our singularity, you will begin to have that experience. This says, and this is lesson 69, okay, before we undertake this in our more extended practice period, let us devote several minutes to think about what the hell we're trying to do. Because that's called preparing to relinquish your grievances. Huh? Huh? In the 12-step program, that's taught as making a list of your grievances and then being entirely prepared to let them go. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You wonder why that little lesson, I'm going to end up giving you 12 steps. And then it's making the amendment. But first you get yourself ready. You got a big list, you know all that stuff is in you. Now we're going to get ready. Why? We can bring more and more of it together through momentary non-rejection of it. And that's the practice of the teaching. So this says, all right, devote several minutes to thinking about what we're trying to do. We are literally attempting to get in touch with the salvation of the world. Okay? With the real you that's offering you the solution that you previously ignored. That's a part of your wholeness that's saying to you, why don't you listen to me instead of to yourself? Can you hear this?
Yes.
He's a whole part of you. Like I would say, why don't you listen to me instead of yourself? And then you can share in that. All right? We are trying to see past the veil of darkness that keeps it concealed. Ready? We are trying to let the veil be lifted and to see the tears of God's Son disappear in the sunlight. You ready? You want to try it? Okay, here we go. We're in this time. We're in this place. We defined ourselves as separate from each other. Now we are going to look at our own self in the entirety of our determination that since we are the cause of this within our own minds, we can begin to change our mind and have an experience that will extend from us or part the veil of the defense that we have imposed within ourselves. Is there anything outside of you out there? No. There's nothing outside of you. So we know we have the entirety of this association. Where? Within our own mind. You ready? Here we go. I am not a body. You are not a body. I am not this. I am other than this. I am free. I am still as God created me. Say to me, I'm not a body. Can you say that? I'm not a body. I'm not this. This is not what I am. I'm something else. It must be true because I am hearing somebody tell me that I am something else.
Yes.
That somebody doesn't seem to know what he's talking about in regard to me, but certainly he has instructed me to the entirety of an alternative, not based on what I thought I was.
Yes.
Since salvation can be defined as no compromise at all, somewhere I'm going to be willing to accept an alternative, okay, of my own mind, not based on this reference at all. You see? That will be my experience of enlightenment. It will show me that I am the kingdom of God. That will make me very happy. I want you to be happy with the practice of this. If you're not happy with the practice, something must be wrong. If something is wrong, it can only be your definition of yourself. You are trying to succeed within the limitations you have imposed on yourself in order to say to me, not find the solution. You out there, you really may not want the solution at this time because it's too fearful to you. The idea of the loss of the grievance, the release of the grievance, will give you no reason to stay here at all. If you can't seek for justice, why would you be here? But seeking for justice and never being able to find it, finally really is not going to make any sense to you. So you seek for the love and peace of God with no real intention to find it, because Socratically, if what this lesson says is true, if there is a whole God who created you perfectly, your ability to seek for him and not find him doesn't make any sense. It could only be that you are seeking him separately within your own mind. And you can't find God there because he's not there. And that's beginning to make you very happy. Stop looking for God where he ain't. He's not here. Okay? Quit trying to take the grievances of your own mind and justify them in association with love. There is no comparison between hate and love. Do you see? How can you be hatefully loving? And lovingly hateful? Yet this is the basis of all of your relationships with each other. Boy, that's a nice lesson. Seek and you will find. Okay? My grievances hide the light of the world in me. I cannot see what I have hidden. If I could see it, I wouldn't hide it anymore. I'm afraid to look at what I had hidden because it's my max grievance.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Since I have hidden my maximum grievance within my potential to draw on my possessions to find another reason to grieve, since I need to grieve within my own associate mind. All potential can only be a grievance because any definition is a holding on to yourself to protect yourself in order to continue to die within your own framework of false association. Okay? Isn't that nice? That was, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. If I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. Doggone it, you son of a gun, what do you think you're doing to me? And you feel real good about it, all right? And you say, why am I doing that? Okay? I don't want to do that anymore. I am suffering the pain of my own grievance, and I'm tired of it. I have looked for justice here. I've looked for peace. I've looked for happiness. Maybe I should begin to accept the fundamental message that it ain't here. That if this is a product of my own mind, I will seek in vain for the solution, since I am a definition of the problem.
Yes.
And by defining the problem, I can never find the solution.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, these are good lessons, aren't they? I'm afraid to get to 76. I'm at 71. Only God's plan for salvation will work. And if I had my own book, you can see all the stuff I underline. Since I have this new book, I can only tell you that you may not realize that you, the ego, have set a plan for salvation that's entirely in opposition to the plan you're being offered. So we'll continue with this. Okay. All right. Here's the reminders that are contained within the practice. Okay. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? Okay? Give him full charge of the rest of the practice period and listen for the answer, not based on yourself. If you have reached the point within your own mind of prayerful admission that you don't want this, and do not base your prayers to God on a solution that he knows nothing of, you will begin to experience the entirety of his will. The Course in Miracles is a meditative technique to allow you to be who you already are, not based on your request through God to define yourself as evil. We used to call these prayers of the heart. God, I don't know what this problem is, and I don't know how to solve it, but I know that you do. So I will not attempt to solve it within my own mind, and the solution will be given by you. And it'll work. And it does work. So this was our practice, wasn't it, today? We got these lessons of the Course in Miracles, and everywhere we go, we are beginning to have this experience of a direct contact with reality. We are up to a key lesson called 72 that says holding a grievance is an attack on God's plan for salvation, and that your body is a physical involvement of your determination to attack reality. It's very difficult for some of you to see that because you believe there's such a thing as neutrality within your own mind. There's not. Any attack and defense will always justify the pain and death of this association. It's another way of saying that you are actively in opposition to the will and love of God. If that is true, you can actively change your mind. If evil is real, it will remain real in its entirety, and there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, there is no such thing as evil or what you call the devil except your advocacy of him. Do you see that? The activities of your mind that justify evil must actively participate in the justification for the separation. And in that sense, the devil's very real. The idea that there really is an opposing force is ridiculous. Yet if you advocate him in your mind, he will take on a form that justifies an objection to God, and it will become very real to you. You hear that? Mm-hmm. Okay. God does not require the activity of his mind, of your mind, to be who he is. He requires, at this point where you have actively opposed him, only an active acquiescence to his love for you. Okay? He doesn't need your advocacy. He is going to be true and whole, and you are going to be that, regardless of how you judge him in your own association. Evil requires your judgment, since all judgment is evil. The God of love requires no judgment whatsoever to be who he is in the entirety of our recognition of eternal life. Okay? That's a nice lesson, and it's pretty much the lesson that we did here in this association. Okay? This is a whole idea that your body associations are preventing you from seeing the world. And it uses some very difficult associations where it says that the world is an arena of survival of animal associations that attack and defend themselves. And I'll let you read all that if you want to. Certainly all you'd have to do is look out into the world and see what's occurring to see how true that is within your mind. Okay? And I'll read you a couple sentences. Okay, the body's apparent reality make this view of God, that God is a part of this, very real to you, since he has been set up by you to do that. And you that who believe you are a body must participate in the thought form of your temporal association and take an active part. I'll try it with you just for a minute, my objection. You take an active part in your aging process. You actively participate through the defense of yourself from God in a justification for you to get old and die. Those of you who are changing your mind with me will discover how light and lovely you become by not defining yourself as a body. Can you hear this? I assure you, old whatever you are, that it's only the definition of your body that is making it old. It's impossible for your body to get old. It's impossible for anything to get old. There isn't any such thing as getting old. Okay? So if you define yourself as a body, you must suffer the consequences of getting old and dying. The joy that many of us experience here in the vitality and youthful appearances that come over your body are very simple because you have retarded and you reversed your aging process. You are remembering your young thoughts of love, and your body is then taking on the attributes of your mind and defining you in that fact. Do you hear me out there? And that will make you very happy, at least we go, wow, I am as God created me. I'm going to share that love within my own mind. The body actually does nothing whatsoever. but it cannot not represent what you think you are. All right? At no single moment does the body exist at all. I'm not going to deal with the lesson of yesterday, but I want you to remember that we are teaching you the entirety of the illusionary nature of your conceptual mind in regard to what you think the world is. We are changing your mind to a totality of you to give you an entirety of the illusion, okay, of perfection that can be represented by you in this world. I didn't want that to slip down any for you. I want you to see that I am representing to you the entirety of a reformation of a body, while an illusion, okay, has a light factor of eternity that will shorten your relationship of oldness and newness in the stretch of time to the instant of your revelation. Those of you who've been practicing the Course are having life-changing experiences. If I can get you to depend on the experience rather than the result of it, this is teaching. You will stay in the experience. It isn't that you won't enjoy the result, but you will see that any result that does not show you continuing happiness can only be a result that you don't want. Okay? This is the whole idea that kindness makes you kind and happiness makes you happy. But if that's true, I'm going to be happy for no reason whatsoever. No, you're going to be happy for what you are, even though you don't know it. You're not going to define your own emotions as having them. That's what this lesson says. Good for you. I see that you are beginning to simply enjoy that experience, aren't you? Isn't that nice? All right. The body's apparent reality makes the view of God causing pain and death appear to be real. And that's simply not true. The universal belief of this world is that you must suffer and die, and that's why it has no reality. I'm talking directly to you for a minute. The universal belief of this world that you must come here and justify this association within this apparent separateness from reality is why you're here. You don't have to do it anymore. Do not let the universal belief of this world affect the certainty of who you are in the new light of a prospectus of a function that is now available to you, deny you the access to heaven that is all around you. You see that? Don't let the world impose its values on you. Shall I give you the sentence? There's nothing here worth valuing at all. Don't value it. Let your mind change and you'll escape the world. Okay? This seems to be working pretty well. Certainly it's working for everyone who has come in since we began this talk. Are you the ones who were here yesterday, or are you a new bunch of associations? When you got up this morning, remember the other bit? Get up this morning, did you let yourself be new? Did you let yourself be now, rather than bringing the grievance from yesterday with you? At night, did you make the necessary amends? I'm teaching what you have to do, so that you don't let the sun set on the crap of your old mind, because if you do, you'll get up with it the next day. That's this entire teaching. Is it that simple? Yeah, it's that simple. Don't hold the grievance. Okay? If the world refuses to pardon you, don't be concerned about it. The pardon is contained within yourself anyway, isn't it?
Yes.
You're the one that's seeking the pardon, since you're the one that's causing yourself your own pain. This is this whole teaching. I mean, your brother is not guilty of anything. You are guilty of inflicting, in the necessity to defend yourself, the pain that you experience in this world. You have a problem with yourself and a solution within yourself. This you've really learned, haven't you? If you've learned that, your progress is going to be very rapid, because you won't depend on the self that's contained within you, but rather on the certainty of the self that you must be. That's a nice teaching. Isn't that nice? This is all about grievances. This is the universal belief of the world. Some hate the body and try to hurt and humiliate it. Others love the body and try to glorify it. But while the body stands at the center of your concept of self, you are attacking God's plan for salvation and holding your grievances against Him and His creation, that you may not hear the voice of truth and welcome it as a friend. Your chosen Savior takes this place instead. He is your friend. God is your enemy. Sorry about that. Tough teaching, huh? Okay. But I want you to see it within the entirety of the declaration. Not necessarily believe it, but certainly the acknowledgement of the possibility will give you that sense of reality. Okay, that's going to work real well for you. There's another world I want to see. I'm not going to use my old references to guide me now. You, there, at this time and in this place, I intend to find the answer that is right here, right now. It's not out there, it's in me. Wherever I am in here, I am contained within this definition of myself, and I don't want it anymore. I'm tired of it. There's an alternative, okay, that I know must be available to me, or why do I feel pain? Why can't I find the solution within this association? Why am I feeling the injustice that God has caused me this pain? There. Did that begin to work for you? Do you see? Isn't that nice? Together now, let's have an experience of the light that is all around us. See? And these lessons will work. Do you want them to? Are you okay? Are you okay with what's happening to you? Are you okay with the idea that you're in this body and that they're going to bury you under the ground or whatever you think is going to happen to you? Huh? The idea that you're going to get old and sick and die and that's necessary for you? Apparently up till now you've been okay with it. Somewhere you're going to have to say to yourself there's got to be something besides this. Okay? That the solution is not in the indication of the separation. And then that'll be available to you. Okay. These were the lessons 60s and 70s of the workbook of A Course in Miracles. A course that came to you from eternity, from the mind of your Savior Jesus Christ, who is resurrected and has returned and is returning each moment to offer you the entirety of the solution, so that who you are asking for instructions will be the real you, since God does not know anything about it. You must instruct yourself to the truth of you, not based on the self you have identified in space-time. Okay? Is that so? So that was our lesson, okay, about what is salvation, Father? I don't know. Tell me so that I can understand. Remember in the other lessons you learned that whenever you thought you had solved the problem, you remained in death. Whenever you admitted that the problem was not solvable, you had the experience of eternal life. Shall we try it right now? I don't know who I am or what I'm doing or how to look at this, and I'm not going to use that. I'm going to have this experience of love. My dependency is on God, okay, not on the autonomy of the independence that I assert in order to protect myself in separation. Although I have attempted to use that and I felt the joy of momentary victory over God, I inevitably suffered the consequences of my victory because my victory sustained my separation from my own creative reality. Did anybody hear that? That's a very true statement. See? Your dependency is on the entirety of universal mind, not the autonomy that you assert and call freedom. All right? We're going to wrap this up now. In the diary, what is salvation, Father? I don't know. Holding grievance is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. And I can accept it by asking what it is. What is salvation, Father? I don't know. Help me. Okay? I will make no attempts to define what life is. Do you hear me? I'm not going to try to do that. Instead, I'm going to have the experience of who I really am. We've written here from chapter 11, yours is the independence of creation, not of autonomy. Your whole creative function lies in your complete dependence on God, whose function He shares with you. By His willingness to share it, He becomes as dependent on you as you are on Him. What an incredible statement. He depends on your will in the acknowledgement of Him, which is His will in the creative reality of what you are. In a literal sense, the Son of God is God creating actively. Can you see that? And apparent association with God. That's what I'm offering you. And if you will give of your mind, giving, which is the release of the grievance or the protection of yourself, you will have the realization that in the non-defense of yourself, in the giving of yourself, in a conceptual association, you come as close to a replication of creation as you can come. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, so don't protect your thoughts, give them away. And if you give yourself completely, you will see that you are whole and total as God created you, because God gives completely. He is a complete giving of Himself. All right? That's a nice lesson, and we're going to wrap up these plans for lessons 73. 73 is, I will that there be light, because my will is the same of God, and I will succeed if I allow myself to. Okay? You will succeed today if you remember that you want salvation for yourself. You want to accept God's plan. You don't want your plan to work. You want to admit that you have been in competition with God and that your plan simply is not going to work. Huh? The damn thing just won't work. I don't know what the alternative is, but I do know that this won't work. Huh? That's how your experiences began. And the more you become dependent on your creative reality, the more light will come into your creative purpose. And that cannot not be true. Are we on the air over here? Huh? How do we look? How am I doing? I put on this shirt today. I didn't. There was nobody here when I came in here and started this. And now there are a lot of real bright associations who feel this call. Okay. And you have asked them to come here and represent you, and they're very happy to do it. There is no one in this room who is gathered here now. There's probably 100 out there, okay, who you don't know perfectly. Somewhere in time you have been an assemblage of this with them, having heard the call of Jesus from out of time. You have accepted it, and you're in fact in heaven with Him already. You're actually home in heaven already. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Is it all right if I come here and tell you that you're not here? This lesson says the you that is who you really are knows it. The you who doesn't know who isn't anything. That nothing of you would be in the defense of yourself. All right, we're up to I will that there be light. Idle wishes and grievances are partners or co-makers in picturing the world that you see. Okay? The wishes of your defense of yourself give rise to it, and you need the grievance of your identity with yourself to sustain the defense of your body function. Guys, that's nuts. You're crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that anymore. I'm offering you a solution that has nothing to do with this world at all. It's the certainty that you are as God created you, and that you can come to know that by the practice of this. All right? Now, that was lesson 73. Okay? Your picture of the world can mirror only what is within you. You might want to look at this lesson, because it's a beauty. You're going to get a reflection of whatever you think you are. If you grieve, the world will grieve. If you die, the world will die with you. If you declare life, the world will come alive with you, since the world is a product of your mind. Okay? Remember the lesson? You brought it with you when you came, and it will be here until you change your mind about it. When that occurs, you will leave here in a joyous memory, okay, that this world was over and gone a long time ago. Wow. The source of neither light nor darkness can be found without. Grievances darken your mind, and you look out on a darkened world. This is the core of this lesson for today. Huh? You see dark images contained within the reflection of your own mind, don't you? My goodness sake. Okay. Forgiveness lifts the darkness, reasserts your will, and lets you look upon a world of light. We have repeatedly emphasized that the barrier of grievances is easily passed and cannot stand between you and salvation. The reason is very simple if you will look at it. Do you really want to be in hell? Come on. If I've got you to admit that you're the cause of this, the solution will be very simple, because you can ask yourself, do you really want to be in hell? You got this lesson? You out there? You might want to read this lesson 73. I put a little star up there sometimes. You really want to be in hell? That's how simple this is. Can I get you to admit you're the cause of it? Well, I'm certainly looking at it. Then you can decide whether you really want the result of your own mind. Do you really want to weep and to suffer and to die? Forget the arguments that the ego is giving you to prove that all of this is really heaven, because it ain't. And know how much you can carve out a little section of it and say, Molly and me and baby makes three. This ain't heaven.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
You're still going to get old and die and end up, somebody's going to come and take it away from you because you've defended heaven. Why would you have to defend heaven? Huh? Isn't that an amazing idea? Here's the sentences that are so Socratic, I love them. Okay? You cannot want this for yourself. There is a point beyond which illusions cannot go. You ready? Suffering is not happiness, and it is happiness that you really want. And in order to have a form of suffering, sacrifice, in order to be happy, finally it just is silly. I watched your Easters, guys. The idea that Jesus was sent by God to suffer and die. Come on, I need a break here. In order for you to justify suffering and dying, so that God Himself is justifying your suffering and your dying, is crazy.
Yes.
Do not underestimate the craziness of the world that needs to suffer and get old and die in order to justify what it thinks its creative factor is. Remember, it's you that invented God. There's no real suffering except in what you would have in association with yourself. It's not true. Wow, boy, that's a nice lesson, isn't it? Okay. Suffering is not happiness, and is happiness you really want. Such is your will in truth, and so salvation is your will as well. You want to succeed in what we're trying to do today, we undertake it with your blessings and your glad accord. Is it okay if we succeed today? Or are you too afraid? Are you too afraid of being happy? Are you too afraid of being happy because you're going to lose it? You right there, I'm looking right at you. You've crouched down because you found happiness and lost it, and now you're afraid to be happy again because somehow you're convinced you're going to lose it, and you're crazy. You're crazy. When you find happiness that's not based on loss, you'll always be happy. If it's based on loss, you're going to have to suffer the loss and then attempt again to find it until finally you get sick and tired of trying to find happiness because it gives you nothing but pain. So you stop seeking for happiness and simply stay in the pain. Shame on you. Huh? You just turn back in and say, there's no way I'm going to be happy. You evolve a very cynical attitude about what happiness is. And when you see somebody out there that's happy, you say, just wait a minute and see how unhappy you're going to be. You've accepted the inevitability of pain and loneliness. And I need a break on that. It's not going to work. You're going to get old, you're going to suffer, and you're going to die. And you're going to get old, and you're going to suffer, and you're going to die, and you're going to get old, and you're going to suffer, and you're going to die. And you're going to come here, and you're going to get old, you're going to fight the battle, and you're going to suffer, and you're going to die. Okay? Is that all right with you? Say yes. That's only because you haven't suffered enough. Finally, you're going to say, I'm sick and tired of causing my brother the pain, because every time I cause him pain, he reciprocates, and I feel his pain, or the pain that he gives to me. I've decided I don't want to share pain, that I want to share love. And that'll work. What a lovely lesson that is. We will succeed today if you remember that you want salvation for yourself and want to accept the plan because salvation is for you. Lesson 74, okay. There is no will but God is the central thought that I've tried to teach you. As I sit here with you, there is no will but the will of God. His will for you is eternal happiness and contentment and joy, okay, for all of time as you appear to be in it and for all eternity forever. Just don't let time set the terms for your eternal self. And you can be happy in time as long as it lasts. Because remember the lesson yesterday, it only lasted for that moment when fear took the place of love. When you have found joy, pain and loneliness will not long abide with you, because your joy is coming from the will of God rather than your own self-will or your determination to contradict the inevitability of eternal life based on what you think is your apparent success in dying. You will not succeed in dying. If you can hear this from me, I don't care about you out there on hospital beds. You will not be successful at dying. If you'll accept that from me now, okay, or rather than justify the death of you, you're liable to spring into light and be gone from here right now. That's an expression of happiness based on the discovery of light. Now you out there, I just saw somebody say, this'll never work for me. It's not a working, brother, and it has nothing to do with how you think it works. Remember yesterday's lesson? The miracle of light is working all the time. It doesn't have anything to do with what you think is happening. Nothing. Remember, this world was over and gone a long time ago? You stand for a moment, let all your past memories catch up to you, and you'll have no future, because your future was based on that past. Just for a moment, you'll suffer the entirety of all the grievances and pain that were in your own mind, but that will last just for the moment that you have decided you don't want them. At that moment, you will spring into light. That's a good lesson. There is no will but God's. The idea for today can be regarded as the central thought toward which all of our exercise go. God's is the only will. When you have recognized this, you have recognized that your will is His. The belief that conflict is possible will absolutely leave you. And you'll be very certain out there, and those of you here, that there is no world. Very simply because you no longer suffer the conflict of your own mind in regard to the construction of your mind that has given this world its reality. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. We got to, there is no will but the will of God. What's happened? The belief that conflict is possible has gone, and peace has replaced the strange idea that you are torn by conflicting goals, that you can actually make a choice on whether to stay here or go here. In truth, it's impossible for you to make a choice between this world and heaven. There appears to be a choice, but it's not so. Any choice that you would make not to be here would be augmented by the entire reality of the will of God. Because it is your will, okay, to look on pain and death and deny it. It is your will to look at this world and say, no, my kingdom is not of this world. It is your will to do that. Stand here for a moment with me and let all of those defenses, all of those attacks crash in on you with your dependency on the light and love of the will of God. And that will work. Because it is working. And it's working now. Wow. There is no will but God. I cannot be in conflict. See how it's a denial? Not I'm in conflict and can combat it. I can't be in conflict. This world is impossible. It can't be true if this is true. See? They're reasonable. I will accept that this is true, and I can come to know that this is not. One or the other is not true. See? The whole teaching. If this world is true, there is no God of eternal love and happiness. Okay? Thank you. Yes, we're going to wrap this up now. I'm not going to do, there is no will but God's, and I share it with Him. After you've cleared your mind in this way, close your eyes and experience the peace. The lesson I was going to get to is lesson 75. The light has come and you are healed and can heal, which will lead you to lesson 76, that will declare to you very emphatically that you have nothing to do with this world, that you are under no laws but God's. So the lessons we're going to hold on here to for a minute will be lessons 75 and 76. But you have your workbooks there, don't you? Where you can see that lesson 75 is going to say that the light has already come. The light has already come. You are already healed and can heal, because I am telling you, you are having an experience that you've actually already had. And I want you to remember it so that you can heal, all right? The light has come, you are saved, and you can save. Today we celebrate the happy ending to your long dream of disaster. Will you please practice it? We're going to celebrate that the end of the world is at hand, and that you've made that decision, and that you're going to be gone with that. When you have the experience, we will enforce it with lesson 76 that's going to say you're under no laws but God's. And every time you operate under the establishment, you are denying the totality of God, which is the teachings of Jesus Christ. Okay? Don't depend on the world. Depend on God. Thanks for listening to these lessons. These are a series of associations of the Course in Miracles that we are practicing on this video. And if you get a chance, you might want to look at the other ones. But certainly the idea that you are the light of the world, and by the relinquishment of your grievance against your brother, you can share in the happiness of the certainty that you are loved, would be very valuable to you. Okay? I meant to offer you some love along with this. I have a tendency to begin to explain this to you very rapidly, but I want you to see how valuable these lessons can be to you. Okay?